Hello, 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 and welcome to Unique Leaders Live. I'm Megan DiMartino, and today is Friday, my favorite day of the week, and not because it's almost the weekend, but because of Unique Leaders Live. I am so thrilled to have my guest, Barbara Majeski, with me today, and have Barbara share with you her amazing story of hope and infinite possibilities, and truly just over the horizon. But it is really a story of Barbara's life, as well as all of our other guests. So it is on YouTube. It will be on a podcast, all the platforms next week. So today it's live on all social media platforms. So do share this out, because I know not only you will benefit from Barbara's story, but all of your friends, family, colleagues, everyone. So share this out, because it truly is an amazing story of resilience, hope, possibilities, and it's never too early or too late to create the life of your dreams. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce to you my guest, Barbara Majeski.
Hello.
Hello, hello. I've been looking forward to this, Barbara.
Same. It's going to be a lot of fun. I'm really grateful our paths have crossed. It was meant to be. It was divine.
Amen. I mean, I think about Manhattan Island in the middle. I'm just kind of on the east and you're on the west, you know? And so we're just New York girls, right?
New York at heart.
Absolutely. So Barbara, as I shared, this is about you, about your story. And I have found in doing over a year of Unique Leaders Lives and podcasts that people so resonate with my guest stories, because everyone is unique and they're leaders, but they started somewhere. And people forget that. I'm asked all the time, how did you know to do a skincare line? How did you know to start a spa? I was asked that just yesterday on a clubhouse room. And it was like, well, it didn't just happen. And so basically it goes back to the beginning. So why don't you share a little bit about young Barbara and just, your dreams and goals and aspirations that you might remember, but lead into where you are today.
Well, thanks, Megan. And I find you such an inspiration. You lead from the front and you inspire me and so many others. So it's a gift to be here, because it does show so much of what I can ultimately constantly reinvent myself and do. And what I love about this conversation is that we have many, many chapters within our life, but sometimes we get stuck in narratives that aren't serving us. But to bring you back, I am actually a twin. So I have a twin brother. I was an only child for 4 minutes. It was amazing. I have younger twin brothers that were also a surprise. So I'm one of two sets of twins. As crazy as that is, my mother is a triplet. We do naturally multiply as a family. I am a mother of 3. But twins run in our family, as does a condition known as Fragile X, which is a genetically inherited form of neurological impairment. It's much like Down syndrome. So my younger brother, Stephen, has Fragile X, and it was diagnosed much later, but developmentally, because he had a twin who is neurotypical and was hitting the milestones, they were able to see that Stephen wasn't developing the same. And at a very young age, because I am the only girl, and I don't want to make it a gender issue, but I naturally had very maternal instincts to protect him. And he struggled to speak. And my parents sat my twin brother and I down when we were about 6 and told us that Stephen wouldn't develop like other children. He would have struggled to speak. He had some seizures and just wasn't showing signs of being able to speak. And I remember saying, I was like, don't worry, I'll speak for him. I'll be his voice for the world. And as young as I was, I think it has been a thread throughout my life. And it was when I was going through my cancer treatments in 2016 for stage 3 cancer, that I really had some clarity to what my purpose is. And I had this moment because I reflected on all the things I'd accomplished in my life and all the things I had done, because I thought, if this is where my story ends, how am I going to be remembered? And I really reflected.
Let me interrupt you for a sec. So your folks sat you and your brother down as you were at 6. And where was this? Were you in the New Jersey area at that time?
We were in New Jersey, and I actually just prior to that had been giving Michael and Stephen a bath. Now, why a 6-year-old is giving 3-year-old twins a bath, we don't know. It's the 70s. This is what we did. I do remember there was like a water, like you never filled the water very high, and they were very much my twins. I felt like my parents brought me home little live dolls to dress up. They weren't girls, which I wanted, but I was like, I'll take them. And unfortunately, Stephen had had a seizure, unbeknownst to me. It wasn't submerged underwater. And from that point, he was rushed to the hospital. He did his heart stop beating. It was very traumatic. I didn't hear those stories until much later, but I do remember him being gone for a month and my parents being gone and being very scared. And all I wanted them to do was bring home my baby. Like those were my children, my babies. They're more of my dolls and my play toys than they were my children. And I just felt like one of my little play dolls needed to come home. And they were about ready to bring Stephen home from the hospital. And that's when the conversation took place. But I was so excited that he was coming home that in any form or fashion, I was like, just bring him, I gotta, he needs me. And that was it. That was the change, really, the trajectory, or shaped, I would say, not changed, but shaped the trajectory of my life.
Yes. And so your twin brother, are you the oldest children of this
we're
tribe?
We're the first set. Yes.
You were the first pregnancy that your mom had. And so, like you said, it changed it shaped your life. You are such a huge heart and a open person. And so I can truly see how, like you said, it shaped, like the heart, that your empathy for Stephen and your family just evolved from there. So you were almost the co-mother of this group.
Oh, for sure. I thought they were. I thought they were mine.
It's like, for sure. Yes. And so you now live in Princeton. Were you always in the New Jersey, Princeton area?
So I guess my early years were in Livingston, New Jersey, but
New Jersey.
I was born at St. Barnabas Hospital. And then my parents did move us to Princeton for a better education when I was in 6th grade. So I started 6th grade here. And then, I moved around through college. I went to school in Maryland. And then when I had my own kids, I was like, I've got to come back to, I know this area. So I'm back. I live about 8 miles away from my parents and my younger twin brothers. Now one is married and Michael has 2 kids. And then Stephen lives with my parents. So
I see. And your folks live in the area as well.
Yeah, they live in the area. Stephen still lives with my parents. I am Stephen's legal guardian, so I do a little advocacy for him. COVID's been a little difficult. I'm not going to lie. COVID's been a little difficult. His programs are no longer running. He did an adult daycare program, and for some reason, it hasn't never opened back up for him. We're struggling a little bit. So Stephen doesn't have a lot to do, but they did spend a week at my shore house last week. So they're not all that bad.
So in the early career days, you went to college in Maryland, as you shared. And then what was because now I don't want to jump ahead of what you're doing currently, but after school, what were your career and what compelled you to the career path that you might have taken or did take?
That's a great question. So I actually went to college for health education. I was always into, wellness and taking care of myself, which is kind of ironic because I ended up with stage 3 colon cancer. But I've always been a very active, healthy person. So I decided to study health, whatever. You know how that goes. You study this, you do that. But when I put myself through college, I waited tables. I taught aerobics at Bally's Total Fitness. I worked at the student union. I just was always committed. My thought was always to take care of Stephen. And if I didn't put myself through college, I'd never be able to take care of him. My biggest fear was he would be institutionalized. And that fear was a huge motivator. And then when I got out of college, in that same vein of thought, I was like, I couldn't just take a job. I was getting job offers of like $30,000, $40,000 a year. this is the early 2000s. And I thought, was it the early? No, it was no. It was like 1997. I'm like, oh my God, I don't know when. I don't know which day is up. I don't know how old I am.
Right.
But I remember, I'm like, oh my God, I literally am going to my 30th high school reunion. So, but I remember I was like, I can't take a job because a job I was predicated on like how much money I made was predicated on like the over, if somebody liked my like subjective,
Mhm.
did the overall company hit their objective goals? Like I didn't have any control over how much money I made. It was really predicated on somebody else. And I felt like that was a lack of authority and lack of control. And being that I always wanted to take care of Steven, from a very young age, I was like, I need to make money. I was like, I don't know what I need to do, but I need to make money. And I couldn't just be an employee. I had to find an opportunity-based career path, which I don't think many people are going to argue. It's entrepreneur, it's sales. That's it. You got to sell. And that's what I ended up in, was a startup sales company going door to door, business to business, cold call, straight commission. Was really hard. It was really, was a risk, but ultimately I had a lot of intuition and a lot of like clarity of like, all right, if I do well, and then I can build sales team. Like I just saw the trajectory of it. It's my word of the day, clearly. And so I ended up in this crazy startup. Oh my God. And you understand this because you're an entrepreneur.
Very much.
Everyone told me I was I mean, it was nuts. No salary, commission-based, cold call sales, pay for your own, car, gas, no draw or whatever fancy stuff people have to, nothing. You're going to pay your way and you're an independent contractor. So I just saw opportunity. And I also saw that the people that were leading this were very ambitious. Didn't have a pot to piss in, but they were ambitious. And I was like, they're really strong thought leaders. I'm very ambitious. And I was like, I'm gonna stay with these guys. People told me I should quit, get a real job. It had no health benefits. People were like, you need health benefits. And I was like, all right, well, if this doesn't work out, I kept saying, if this doesn't work out, I'll get a real, if this doesn't work out, I'm still saying that. If this doesn't work out, I'll get a real job.
Right.
I think I'm doing okay.
I'm still saying that, Barb. So yes.
Yeah. If people are saying that to you, you need to get a real job. You're probably doing the right things, because I think you being courageous and entrepreneurial and taking risks kind of intimidates other people, that are playing it safe, people, I don't know what that is about. My parents were like, go for it.
But they did. Oh, I was going to ask because, I just want to stop here for a sec, because in this very quick paced, changing world, I mean, it's just, the pace of the changes are exponential. That, I mean, I'm on other podcasts, you are, people ask me all the time, again, how did you know to do this? Again, it was an evolution of career. We'll get to the further of your career, but what you're sharing with people right now is so key for people to understand. This was the genesis. You learned so much through this, and people in reinventing themselves, which people are doing today. This is a very important piece to understand. And so your folks said, go for it. My father once said to me, you're not a salesperson, again, back to sales, unless you're a commissioned salesperson. And his point was exactly what you're saying, is that you're setting your own destiny. You're setting your own benchmark for success.
I love that your father said that. I was really fortunate. I just don't think my parents put me in a box. They just didn't. And they never imposed their fears on me. They were never like, well, what if? And they didn't do, and I hear so many other parents.
Yes.
Oh, I don't, they just want to like dump all their fears. And it's not out of bad intention. No. It's actually the best of intention. But the interpretation is like, oh, I shouldn't do that. Or I'll fail at that. And it's just we're already afraid. Like we're already intimidated by our own, like the unknown. We don't need anybody else like enhancing that narrative. And I think my parents just were like, what do you have to lose? And did they have skepticism at times? Were they like, what the hell is going on?
Right.
100%. There was a time. So we were a startup in Atlanta, Georgia, going business to business for AT&T. Phone services had been deregulated. We're knocking on doors. We're like, hey, instead of staying with Bell South, we'll move you over to AT&T for local service, which sounds like shooting fish in a bucket because it's like so obvious, but was not. Still law of averages, still numbers game. Got to get to all the things. So all of a sudden, another company was like, we want you up in Pennsylvania. And a bunch of us moved We moved.
Mhm.
I unpacked my stuff, rented an apartment, did the whole thing. And that Monday, that client pulled out. And all of a sudden they were like, there's nothing to do. And no, we were in nowhere, Pennsylvania. I don't know where, I can't even remember. My parents had moved me in. And then within, I'd say 72 hours, they were moving me out. And they were like, what the hell are you doing? And I was definitely like, I don't know, but I've gone this far and I ain't going to bail now. You know, I'm like, I'm already like, I was like, I don't know what, I don't know that I could have. And a lot of people did quit at that point, but I was like, kind of in it to win it. And I don't know. I was
Were the original guys that you, like you said, they were go-getters and you had a lot of respect. Were they still involved?
Oh yeah, everyone's still there. Actually, everyone's
Yeah.
still there. You know, I'm not there anymore, but I do have a percentage of
Mhm.
the value of the company that is now one of the largest outsourced sales company in the world. I think it is the number one largest outsourced sales company in North America. I could be wrong on that, but I somewhere up there. It's a huge company, but it was a little rinky-dink bunch of yahoos with a lot of like. A lot of companies would outsource to us if we started to expand. Like the whole logic was there, but we had to go through some like hiccups, and we were all in our 20s.
Yeah.
We were just all in our 20s, and so yeah, I really will. I want to just wrap this with a bow and the importance of when we're parenting,
Yes.
we're leading as parents, and we're coaching, and it's sometimes you just got to let the play itself out and let people fall so that they can learn. And I think my parents just gave me so much bandwidth and faith that I would make good decisions. But because they had faith that I would make good decisions, I think I made good decisions. So it's like, what comes first, the chicken or the egg?
Right.
Did I make good decisions so that I proved them, or did they believe that I would make good decisions? Irrelevant. It's like, how do you get that cycle of thought to be embedded within your psyche of like, all right, what do I have to lose?
But you had already, I don't want to say proven, but you had already shown your own resilience to yourself because again, you, I know this only because I've heard you share this. You paid for your college. You are a person, when you make a decision, you follow through with it, is what I have seen with Barbara Majeski.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And I think that many people are. I do feel that what I have is perseverance and persistence. And as Marie Florio always said, everything is figure outable. And I don't think that wasn't the language that I used, but I did say, figure it out. Like the word figure outable, that's Marie Florio. But I was of the thought, figure it out, make it work, figure it out. Where, you know, like keep moving the feet forward, take the next right step. And just like you talk about, it's like, how did you get into skincare and how did you get into podcasting? It's taking the next right step of like, okay, reverse engineer, and you want to be here. How do you reverse engineer all of that? And for me, I was like, all right, figure this out. Step back, keep moving the feet forward. I don't know. I just, some things I'm like, whoo, but I always say I didn't go this far to go this far. So I'm still going.
Exactly. You know, one thing that you don't speak about, and I'm listening to you and I'm thinking about myself and my life and others. So you were in your early 20s. And when did you get married? How old were you then?
I got married 30. I got married at 30.
Yeah.
30.
So you were committed to building, you know, regardless of relationships and the like, but you were, so I don't want to put words in your mouth. Were you focused on building your own empire, so to speak, or your foundation? Let's just say that before you did get married?
Yeah, I was pretty career oriented at that time. I don't think I was very marriage, or I felt like that would all fall into place. And like, it's like that, what will be, will be. I was so committed to providing life for myself and my brother that everything else wasn't really a priority. I wasn't worried about having children. I thought, you know, the world, I had a lot of faith in my destiny. I had a lot of faith that my destiny was going to be good.
That's a good one, Barbara. That is really powerful.
I think I really did. I felt like I was a good person. I did my best. I'm flawed in all the things, and I continue to make mistakes, like huge mistakes all the time. And I hope to learn from them and apologize. And like, I hope people offer me grace. But I did feel like I was worthy of a really magical destiny, but I was never like, oh, I want to have, I thought, well, if I don't have my own kids, I'll be a really amazing stepmother. I felt like in whatever capacity I was going to be a mother, I was going to be a mother. Whatever that looked like was a little obscure to me, but I ended up being my own, I'm a mom to 3 kids now, and they're friends. I mean, I love them like my own. My niece, I treat my niece and nephew. I like, honestly, some days I say to my brothers, I'm like, can I just have your kids? Because I just love them. I'm like, oh my God, they're so cute.
So you were building this career, and so, like you said, let's tie a bow on that. But did you do anything from there to, or did you do that up to the time that you married, or were there other career steps in there?
That's all I did. What I ended up doing, the door-to-door sales ended up really, AT&T loved us, and they should have, because we were bringing them the customer that they couldn't get their hands on. The pain point for AT&T was the small to medium-sized business owner wasn't taking telemarketing, wasn't reading their junk mail, wasn't converting over to their new services, and they needed a feet on the street to just show up and sit down with their bills. And outsourcing was the only way to really monetize, like to really, the logic of internalizing a sales team was silly. But outsourcing made sense. So that's what always resonated with me. I'm like, yeah, if AT&T internalized this, they'd have to fly people all across the United States. But if we open up offices, they just send it to. So what ended up happening was, me as a feet on the street girl, I ended up opening offices and hiring sales teams all across the United States. So I started opening up little satellite offices. We not only represented AT&T, then gas and energy deregulated. We were on college campuses, signing people up for credit cards. We were at event promotions.
Wow.
I was working. I was like, I mean, honestly, I was like the bring over the Brinks truck. It was
right. But you think about it, that was the beginning of the I don't want to say globalization, but the breaking down and opening up. Very fascinating.
It was the evolution of outsourcing, and where it was really like, how do companies continue to make profits, without hiring employees is so expensive, and it's a lot of liability. But when you outsource it, all of a sudden they just paid per customer acquisition, got the residual sale. It was like this win-win-win-win. And for me, and we have to understand, my first year doing this, I made $12,000. So everyone's like, oh my God. And when you hear this story, you're like, sign me up and send me the Brinks truck. Listen, I'm leaving out a few details, like the saltines and the salsa years. Okay.
Amen.
Year 2, Brinks showed up and was like, hey, Babs. It took some time, but when it all started to fall into place, which actually I'm hoping this second chapter that I'm in, I'm on the precipice of that too. But it started to fall into place. But that was where I really spent my 20s. I ultimately got married. I married somebody within that organization. And he was 10 years older. Majeski, that's where I get that's my last name and my children's last name. So we got married and quickly started a family and decided I was going to be a stay-at-home mom. That was a difficult transition, won't lie on that one. That was a little bit like a gear shift from 6th gear to I was like, think about grinding gears. I was like, okay, all right, here we go. And it's a funny story. I have to share it. Otherwise I'm going to forget it, because I haven't shared it yet. I didn't have friends who had kids, and I had been in the workforce. So I was like, and I worked with young 20-nothing-year-olds, we were all just a bunch of yahoos trying to make it. So I have my first son, and I have a baby shower. They're giving me a bunch of stuff. I've never even been to a baby shower. I know nothing about babies. So somebody bought me a diaper bag. So I have my son Gabe. I'm like, okay, well, what do I do in this mom land? I had heard that you go to music classes like Gymboree. Sign me up. I'm going to Gymboree. So I sign up. It's my first outing, and I fill my diaper bag. So it's a diaper bag. So I fill it with 72 diapers. And in my other bag, I carry everything else, my wallet, my purse. So I'm literally with the baby Bjorn, with Gabe, who's like 142-pound infant. He is the biggest infant. If you see a picture of him, his track has been like beast mode. He's ginormous. So I had giant meatball in the baby yarn. I'm not a big woman, so I'm sweating because I'm carrying 72,000 diapers in the diaper bag. And I never bothered. So I'm doing this over and over again. And all of a sudden I'm a Gymboree. This is weeks later. And I peek into somebody else's diaper bag and I'm like, where are all their diapers? Why are they only traveling with they only had they had all things. And I swear to God, until this day, I'm like, what was I thinking traveling? I said, my whole diaper bag was filled with diapers. I talk about taking things so literally. I'm so black and white, but that is my personality. I'm like,
but if you were hijacked and you had enough diapers for a while, so you were prepared.
I was prepared for 72 blowouts from
that is great. That is great.
Big baby. I don't know how much he was going to.
But that's why I asked you that question earlier, because again, as a single parent, and knowing my psyche and my dreams, goals, and aspirations and drive, obviously I had a husband, in the beginning, but regardless, you and I have a lot of affinity. And I knew that there was that piece there, that you just had that drive and this was part of you. And then, like you just said, because this is important for some people to hear, then all of a sudden it was like, all of a sudden from sixth gear to zero, the car was parked.
Yeah.
And that's a tough transition. Tough.
It's a tough transition if it wasn't on your list of things to do. I don't know. I guess my thought had always been, make money, take care of Stephen. Make money, take care of make money, and provide for Stephen and provide a life for myself. So it was a bit of a oh my God, I actually checked that box. Now I thought that I was like, okay, I checked that box. Now I'm going to do this. But I did eventually figure it out. I mean, there were just a comedy of errors. Thank God Gabe was the easiest child ever. One time I showed up at Gymboree and I made my friend Maura, who were still really great friends. And she's like, he's busting out of that outfit. And I was like, yeah, but the outfit says 0 to 3 months. So she goes, well, that's a general, this is how black and white I am. She's like, that's a general suggestion. She's like, he's about the size of a linebacker. And she goes, he looks like a sausage. He's busting. And I was like, ow. But this is how literally I just paint within the lines. I'm like, oh, okay. Note to self. Okay. I don't know. I mean, I shouldn't even tell these stories. Diapers should be called.
No, but I'm thinking there needs to be a show about this. I mean, these stories, not just a book, There has to be has to be something.
Every time he cried, I stuck a bottle in his mouth. I was like, oh my God, he's hungry. Oh my God, he's hungry. And no wonder he was a linebacker. I don't know. He's crying. He's hungry. I don't know. I cry when I'm hungry. Right. Oh my God, we have to move on before diapers is called. Okay. It's all great now, and I have an amazing relationship with all three of them, and they've all survived and they're thriving. I have great kids, so I'm really lucky.
And so during this season of building your family, and you've done a lot of philanthropic work, and this story, I do want you to share, about how with the work you did and when it segued into today's show, but do share about your illness. Do share about that.
Sure. So in 2015, the summer of 2015, actually, my marriage actually fell apart first, and in a blaze of glory, really just was blindsided. My husband was no longer interested in being married to me, and that's for the book. But I'm a third wife, and I basically had just expired, and I was devastated. I thought I married the man of my dreams, and I was very much in love with him, and very handsome, very successful, charming, all the things. But it's not that I was so surprised. I just was devastated. When somebody's affections aren't reciprocated.
Yes.
But I really thought if I checked all the boxes, I would be the third and done. Didn't quite work out that way. And on the heels of that, Disastrous end. I got diagnosed with stage 3 cancer. And initially, when they're telling me I have cancer, I couldn't even listen to it. I was like, I actually can't have cancer right now because I'm going to go through a divorce. So if you can go back in your files and pick me out something a little lighter, I'll go ahead and I'll take that. Thank you, Alex. Okay, bye. And they did not come back with anything lighter. I actually had to have a foot of my large intestine removed, 24 lymph nodes. And unfortunately, the tumor was so far advanced, it had perforated the intestinal wall and it was already in my lymph nodes. So this was not good. And I remember a nurse friend saying to me, she's like, when the pathology comes back, as long as they don't say lymph nodes, you're going to be okay. And sure enough, they said it's in your lymph nodes. And I was like, ruh-roh. So I had to have 6 months of chemo. And I will say that kind of sucks. And I do want to take a beat in this because if you have audience listeners that are 45 and older, you've got to get screened because this colon cancer doesn't look like your older man's disease. It's actually crushing. I lost a friend this weekend, 48 years old, same age as me. She was also a stage 3, just like me. In 2017, she was diagnosed and she passed. So this is a PSA because when I can PSA, I throw it out there. And chemo sucks a lot more than a colonoscopy. So for all you people that are like squeezing your butt cheeks right now, let me just say to you.
Yes. Yes.
Chemo.
Okay, take heed, folks. Take heed.
And by the way, it's a cleanse. You lose a few pounds. You look good. So yeah, I had to go through that, and cancer didn't bother me as much as chemo did. Chemo, and you've been through it. I believe your late husband passed from cancer. Yes.
Yes. Oh, no, well, he had Alzheimer's, but I know many people.
Oh, okay.
By the grace of God, not at this time. No.
Yeah.
Yes.
It is. And colon cancer is the most treatable, beatable cancer. That's the frustrating part of it. If you get it early enough, my dad didn't have to have chemo. He had to have, so if it's in your family, you have a high, again, my genetics are twins, I'm like the genetic thing there. So anyway, I went through my 6 months of chemo, and honestly, in the middle of it, I was like, I ain't got this. I do not have this. I thought I did. I had this great attitude. You got this. You're la 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 la. I had 12 rounds. By round 8 or 9, I was like, no, I don't have this. And I was bumping up against an infusion. So when you have an infusion, your body recalibrates, and then you go in for your next infusion, and then you're down, and then you come back up. And by the time you get to the next infusion, you're like, all right, I got it. And then you get knocked down, and then slowly, you just don't recalibrate. And I was like, I had my infusion, and I was like, down here, like my baseline is here, and I was like, oh, I can't get another infusion there. I'm not going to survive it. There's nothing to me. I was a bag of bones. I was like, this is where my story ends. 42 years old. I had 3 kids. My story ends. And I thought, oh my God, how are my kids going to remember me? And I really did reflect on all the things I was really proud of, but I also reflected on all the things that I just had never done, like all the things I wanted to do. And I let so many insecurities, false beliefs, limiting beliefs, fears, apprehensions. And the worst was I cared more about what other people thought about me. And all of it really did malign, it moved me from, doing these things. And I made a vow. I was like, get me out of, all right, universe, give me another shot, and I will never play small. I'll never let the weight of other people's opinions affect me the way I let it. Fear, self-doubt. I had already, my husband ended my marriage. I already walked. That was already a big fear. And I seem to still be breathing. So I was like, what's the worst? People are going to judge you. People are going to judge you anyway. I decided I'm just going to give the world a lot more to talk about if I get another shot. And that's how I ended up on the Today Show. That's the short version.
Yes, exactly. But one of the things I thought was really, like you said, the self-doubt and so forth. But during that season, you, again, were very philanthropic, very involved. I saw the art organization that you're promoting right now on Facebook. You're very involved in your community. You're very involved with your family, obviously your children, but also giving back. And so you were doing something that you were given an award for. And that is indirectly how you got on to the Today Show, because I feel that I'm very sensitive to the audience of hearing different points. And it is about like you've been through hell and back.
I love that story, by the way. You're talking about how I ended up on the Today Show.
Yes.
I'm going to tell your audience that right now, because there is a, what do you call it? Like a little quip that is, we just, oh, the more you give, the more you get. That is, you give with your heart and you live a life of service, the universe will reward you in triplicate. Lead without fear, lead with the understanding that the universe will conspire in your favor, give with abundance, give with love. So in 2009, I went on a medical humanitarian mission with my friend Molly Dare, who you see on Clubhouse. Molly and I go way back. And we went on this mission, which is interesting because so many people went to her house to meet the founders. And everybody's like, well, I'm going on a mission. I'm going on a mission. The only two people that showed up for the mission are actually Molly and me.
Wow.
Which is interesting because now we're those two. We found each other back in Clubhouse.
Wow.
We didn't bring each other to Clubhouse. We reconnected through Clubhouse.
Wow.
Good story there, because I'm a very loyal friend, and so is she. And so we went on this medical mission, and on the flight home, what happened on this? So it's for Operation Smile. They fix cleft lips, free of charge in third world countries. And when you go, there's a screening day, and then there's a qualifying day, and there's 3 rooms. And the first 2 rooms, people are called in and they're told all the expectations, Tylenol, this is blah, blah. But the 3rd room, they're pulled in and their child didn't qualify. And they could not qualify because they have like a fever of 98 degrees. Like they can be disqualified. Like you can't imagine. But the truth is they can't have any liabilities in these surgeries. So they are very, very particular. And this is a surgery here in the United States. It doesn't matter where you fall in the socioeconomic spectrum, you're getting that surgery. But that's not everywhere else. Meanwhile, it's like this 45-minute surgery that can change literally the path of your life. And on the flight home, I'm like, well, what happens to room number 3? How does this work? Like, and this woman, Dee Dee, was like, well, if we get to fund a mission, another mission is funded, we'll go back and they will get another chance. And I said, well, Colgate sponsored that mission. I'll sponsor. How much does it cost? And she was like $150,000. And I was like, all right, I'm going to raise $150,000. Now you have to understand, I never raised $5. I sucked at Girl Scouts. I don't know. I just wasn't into it. And any charity I had done up to that point was I wrote a check. I was like, I don't know, but I had this whole, like at this time I was a stay-at-home mom. I had this resource because I had started then that sales company. I was like, wait a second. Exactly. I got this whole contact list. Like I got a pretty steep Rolodex at this point. I'm like, let me see what I can do. And I'm like, well, if Colgate can sponsor mission, so can Barbara Majeski. I'm like, let me figure this out. And I was like, I'm going to sponsor a mission. And the thought was so like logical because at this point, that little sales company had like 300 offices across the United States. So I was like, I'm going to have everybody do a fundraiser. Everybody will raise $1,000. Like the thought, right, Megan, is like, right, we have these great ideas.
Right.
And then we're like, what? It's like, we're geniuses. I was like, I'm a genius. I'm going to raise this in 15 minutes. Colgate, watch out. When I tell you it took 18 months to raise $150,000, everyone was all jazzed about it. I motivated, everyone was inspired. But when the rubber met the road, there was a big abyss between wanting to do it and executing it. And I was like, well, why aren't you hosting your fundraisers people? But once I got that, and that, by the way, the impetus for all this was strictly in the vein, what if that was my brother?
Yes, I knew you were going to say that.
In the Dominican Republic, and he didn't have any microphone, like on his microphone, right? He didn't have anybody to amplify his needs or his wants. Didn't have a sister. So it was, to me, it was like all those Stevens left in the Dominican or India or wherever they were. I was like, oh my God, like what if that was Steven? I have to do this. I have to use my voice. All I got is a voice. I can't perform surgeries. I ain't gonna sew your little mouth out. I ain't gonna do, I'm gonna do that. But I have a voice, and that is my gift. And I did that, and we went on the first mission. Snowballed because once my team that had done the fundraising went on the mission to Brazil, they went to Brazil. They came back and they're like, there's no way we're not going to keep this going. So all of a sudden, like, it's like that train leaving the depot, like, oh my God, it was so much work in the beginning. But then the momentum, I was like, let's go, let's go, let's go. And next thing you know, I get a humanitarian award from Operation Smile. I am a stay-at-home mom. Mm-hmm. When I left the workforce, cell phones, I think, were in your car at that point. We had flip phones. Right. It wasn't like anything else. And all of a sudden, I'm on the red carpet. I am with celebrities. I'm getting recognized with Johnson & Johnson. Alex Skorsky is the corporate humanitarian award winner. And Barbara Majeski, stay-at-home mom, is like I don't know what I do.
But it's part and parcel of your spirit and who you are.
I could have never thought, like, that's the crazy part. So that's the lesson, is like, I didn't do this to get a humanitarian award. I didn't even know this was part of the jazzy pants of it. But to bring this all full circle, there's so much in this. I hope your audience hears this. Let me bring all this. There were 3 things that it just comes out of this one initiative to help and serve and give a voice to speak to the underserved. What ended up happening was, I was diagnosed that same year. That award was in May 2015. I was diagnosed in November. I was given that award. Alex Skorsky of Johnson & Johnson heard of my diagnosis and reached out directly and said, what do you need? So I had full on, like, Johnson & Johnson behind me to make sure I got out of this, right? That's number 1. Number 2, fast forward, I survived cancer. And I'm like, all right, now that I'm going to go big, because I made a vow and I'm like, I'm going to go big. I'm like, I'm going to go on TV. I'm going to go on TV. I don't know. I just wanted to be, it was my dream. Now I get a second shot at living it. I call this media trainer. Remember, I've been a stay-at-home mom for a decade, 12 years. I call this media trainer I find off the interwebs, off of Instagram. She picks up the phone. The assistant is like, you know what? You sound pretty good. Let me give you to Amy Rosenblum. All of a sudden, I get like right into Amy Rosenblum because I sounded good on the phone, I guess. Amy's like, what's your name? I'm like, Barbara Majeski. She take in my name. Guess what comes up? Mm-hmm. All of my work for Operation Smile. Otherwise, mm-hmm. I was a nobody on the internet. I had no social footprint. But instead, when she Googled me, she goes, is this you at Operation Smile? And you can do public speaking? I said, yes, I can do public speaking. I worked in sales and I speak well. She goes, I want you in my office next Tuesday. Are you free? And I was like, now Amy has been the executive producer at the Third Hour of the Today Show, and Maury Povich. Her resume is beyond. Mm-hmm. But that was the second.
Yes.
That moved me to the front of the line for Amy Rosenblum, right? All of a sudden had validation that I could, and I had been like celebritized by being mm-hmm. on the carpet, and I've mm-hmm. all these, like I was on the news. I mean, I was fancy.
You're right, fancy.
I was fancy. Here's the third thing that came out of it that is a crazy blessing. And remember, the impetus for all of this is that to live in service and serve the Stephen and the Stephens of the world. Because I know. Yes. Here's the third thing. After I went through chemo, I came out like, I'm not judging anything. I became like the judgeless wonder. And my daughter has this little X factor. And I'm like, maybe she can model. I don't know. Maybe she likes acting. Maybe she likes, all of a sudden I stopped saying like child actors only become porn stars and drug addicts. I decided all I did was watch, read Us magazine. And I had that's another story for another day. So I enrolled my daughter into this modeling agency because I'm like, what do I have to lose? Maybe she'll like it. If she doesn't like it, I don't care. But why should I judge anything until long story short, our first booking is for Oscar de la Renta fashion runway show. And it's at Cipriani's, New York, the very same venue that I was given that humanitarian award at. So when she got there, she had already been there because she saw me get on the stage and like walk up there like a boss. So when they put her on that stage, she walked just like her mom. Like she was like, and she was 4. She was like, I've been here. My mama showed me how to do. When I saw the universe and I saw my daughter come out, I cried, Megan, because I was 4 blocks or 5 blocks, whatever it is. I was blocks away from my infusion suite, watching my 4-year-old just all her. I don't have that. I didn't have that. I wasn't that 4-year-old. Maybe that at 40 something. Oh, I was bawling. I have a little blog post on it, but the emotions, the gratitude I had to be there, seeing her, blah, 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 like the story. So anyway, the more you give, the more you get. And that is
The bottom line. The
and
bottom line.
it's so we say it's cliche, but I'm like, stop living in fear. What if somebody steals my idea? I talked with somebody and she's like, I'm afraid, I don't want to put it out there. People are going to steal my idea. I'm like, nobody can steal you. People steal Van Cleef and Arpels. People mimic, Tiffany's and Chanel. It doesn't make, it just showed like imitation is the highest form of flattery.
Right.
I really say go big. Don't be afraid. And people are going to mimic you. They're going to mimic you. I don't think only you can produce what you can produce.
Your personal brand. It's who you are.
Yeah.
It's what you are. But it all started back with the babies and with Stephen, and that everything that you've shared today is not premeditated or plotted or planned. That's what you're saying about stealing your idea. Just even if it is, I've had ideas like when I started Glycolique. Goodness gracious, did I think I was going to be the only glycolic acid line out there? I was probably the least funded, but the bottom line is it's my story. It's not their story. How this ends, it doesn't matter. It's my story. So that's what you have. It's your story. This is who you are. And this has not stopped. And this is just starting and just really amazing. Not amazing, but amazing from the standpoint that the world just limits us.
And we become very fearful, and fear is something listen, we are naturally biologically geared to go to the worst scenario because that's the human experience. We have to protect ourselves from walking into oncoming traffic and look out for lions and tigers and bears. This is just our genetic, our predispositions, but we do need to mitigate it through rational thinking of like, you know what, I don't think a wild buffalo is going to take us out today. And you know what, maybe somebody will, but I want other people's light to shine. Yes. And if I give people the keys to the kingdom of how to become an on-air television personality, how to be a lifestyle expert, how to do TikToks that go viral, it doesn't diminish what are they going to get? Somebody would be like, well, they might get the booking over you. Right. I want to celebrate other people. I want other people to succeed. It just doesn't bother me. I really feel like I take, and Molly is a good friend like that. She just is your biggest hype person. And I always want to be that. And I want to just close on this because I know we're wrapping, but this is a message. I met Oprah once, barely. I was at an after show and asked her a question. That's the story. But I asked her, what kind of advice would you give to somebody who aspired for her level of success? And her answer was, success, you can't aspire for anybody's level of success. Success is a byproduct of living in service and helping others. Right. And when she said that to me, I knew she was talking to me. Oprah has that thing, that thing?
Yep.
Like it's a vibe, energy thing.
Mm-hmm.
I felt like she chose me out of the gazillions in the audience. And that landed and has never left me because in that moment I thought of Stephen and I was like, got it. And that was 2004. And I think that's where the conversation begins and ends.
Well, I just wanted, you have answered my last question and of the 60 some odd, maybe 70 some odd unique leaders I have done, I end because I just love talking with you and listening to your stories, but I end the same way and you on some level have just answered it. So I'm going to tie it together with this. It's about 3 feet from gold, Sharon Lecter, Greg Reed, and she has her success formula in that book. And it is your passion plus talent times association times action plus faith equals success. Now, what I say to everyone is I'm not asking you to share every piece of that, but what is your passion? Just to clarify and be, focused back into everything you've shared. What would you say your passion is and what is your talent?
I feel that my passion is to help others get out of their own way, live their best life, and find their alignment with their calling, their purpose. Mm-hmm. And my talent is inspiring those to do so by using my stories to shine a light that they too have purpose and massive potential. So
Yeah.
that is my passion. And I believe my greatest talent is helping to inspire others, get out of their own way, live their best life, and live a life of, they say it, the purpose of life is to live a life of purpose.
Yes.
And
you
that's
do
what
that.
I'm doing.
And you do it every day, my love, every day. Well, thank you, Barbara Majeski, for joining me today and sharing a bit of Barbara Majeski. And Barbara is just beginning. She is still with the Today Show, featured. What's your title?
I'm an on-air television lifestyle expert. I do have a show coming up October 29th. I will be on the Plaza.
On the Plaza. Oh, wow.
I just got the information yesterday. It's a big deal because it's the Halloween segment for the Today Show. Talk about living your dreams.
Amen.
On the Plaza, Halloween.
Amen. Yay. And what's the date again?
Next Friday, October 29th.
Okay, we'll put it in the text of this, and we'll make sure that's there. But so Barbara is continuing on, and a major spokesperson on the Clubhouse platform, the entire platform, and Breakfast with Champions, and doing all sorts of lives and courses and trainings and so forth, and just doing exactly what your passion and talent is. Thank you, Barbara, for being with me today.
Thanks, Megan. I appreciate you too.
See you soon. Be blessed.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Wow. I told you this was going to be an epic, I didn't say epic, but it is an epic Unique Leaders Live because of Barbara's heart and sharing, as she just stated, with her passion and her talent, helping others to be the best that they are born to be, their inner who they are. And she is just not going to stop until she continues on. It's not premeditated. It is not calculated. It is just who she is. So if you glean a little bit of who Barbara is and what her spirit and heart is, you are destined for greatness, as she has shown the world she is. And I just cannot wait to see what Barbara does next. So thank you again for joining me today. If you would share this out to all your social media platforms, your friends, families, and the like, go to YouTube, subscribe if you have not done so yet, because not only Barbara's there, but other amazing guests that I have had the blessing to interview and bring to you on Unique Leaders Live for over a year now. So subscribe to that. And then next Tuesday, Barbara will be on the Unique Leaders Live podcast on all the podcasting platforms. And when you're on iTunes, please subscribe. It will help others to find Unique Leaders Live, from Sharon Lecter to Greg Reed to Glenn Lundy to Barbara Majeski and many, many more. So thank you again for joining me today. And I will see you next week on another Unique Leaders Live. And be blessed.